Hi, I'm Jeannie and I'm the founder of Beauty Heroes, and I'm here with my friend Josh Rosebrook. Hi, Josh.
Hi.
We're here in Northern California in Beauty Heroes' new space, and Josh is the very first person to see it. We're not even really moved in here yet, and you were in town and took a few minutes to come and talk to me today.
Oh, it's so great to be here. The space is amazing. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't wait to share it with everybody. But we are getting ready to work on our upcoming collaboration, our fourth hero product.
Is it our fourth?
It's our fourth, yes.
Wow.
Yes. We're going to talk about that because it's so amazing to have been working with you for such a long time now and to really go deep. We were talking about that today, kind of going narrow and deep with the people that we choose to work with.
Yes.
And I feel like, you're the one, we've worked really deeply, and we get to share Josh Rosebrook with our customers in such special ways. And I'm very excited for today because this is the interview I've been really wanting to do with you for a long time.
Thank you.
And I think it's going to go a bit longer than our regular interviews because we have lots to talk about. Josh and I have sort of formed a friendship, and we have a lot of really deep conversations about life and business and the world and the environment. And I thought we could share that a little bit with our audience today. So this might be a longer video interview than we're used to, but I'm good with it.
Settle in.
Yeah, people can stay for as long as they want. But we do have a new hero product that I am so excited to share with Beauty Heroes, and it's one of your first products. Is the hero product. The hero, as everybody probably knows by now, is the active enzyme exfoliator. And how early on in Josh Rosebrook was this product formulated?
This was very early. My first product that I ever formulated professionally for the market was the cacao antioxidant mask, which is a hero product and has been in the Beauty Heroes box. But the active enzyme exfoliator was inspired to come forward very early on in my formulating, developing brand career because it's imperative that we exfoliate. And I still do as I educate people about the line and the collection and skincare and understand the science of the skin. You have to exfoliate. It's one of the biggest missteps. Most people tend to jump towards moisturizing and cleansing and those standard basic phases of healthy skincare, but exfoliation is really, really, really important. So I knew in the very beginning that I wanted to anchor my collection with a really effective exfoliating product. So
yes. So, and I've heard Josh say this. You actually were talking to somebody else, and I overheard you saying this. You said, "I don't go into any location or any store or anywhere without this product. You can't carry Josh Rosebrook and not carry the active enzyme exfoliator."
Exactly, because it's a foundation for my approach to skin. And when somebody, say, has a question and they, what should I use for a serum? The first thing I ask is, well, first, what are you using and what are you exfoliating with? How are you effectively exfoliating? And many times, believe it or not, people say, oh, I don't really exfoliate, or I have this, little rice scrub that I use or something. Or they say that they just don't exfoliate. And so ultimately, I help them understand the importance of exfoliating.
Yeah.
The skin turns itself over naturally every 30 days, but not as much as we need it to keep the skin in a beautiful condition like we want it. So it's really about resurfacing the skin and triggering collagen and elastin production and sloughing the dead skin so it doesn't cause a disruption. Because if you aren't removing that dead skin, your serums, balms, oils, creams, hydrators are not going to be able to fully penetrate. Dead skin cells don't hold hydration or moisture.
Right.
So ultimately, it's about serving the customer and saving their money, because if you aren't exfoliating as a phase in your routine regularly, then you won't benefit from the other products that you're using.
So how does it work? It works with several different actives.
Yes.
So tell us how the active enzyme exfoliator works.
So it is mechanical and enzymatic, and that's one of the reasons why it's such an effective, powerful treatment. It's because you have the finely ground round walnut shells that gently slough off dead skin cells from the surface of the skin by using a very gentle physical manual exfoliation. But then you also have all of the herbs that are in it as well, which create an anti-inflammatory mask on top of that. The mask is dual action because it has the papaya enzyme, neem enzyme, herbal enzymes as well. So after you exfoliate physically, you pack the product onto your face and allow the enzymatic action to ensue and slough off another layer of dead skin cells. And basically what it's doing is it's breaking the bonds between the dead keratin and the new skin underneath, so that we can reveal the new skin. It's just one of those treatments that has a very, very, very high success rate, and the base of it is honey. So you have natural acids in the honey and anti-inflammatories, but I like to recommend it to people of all skin types and conditions as well.
Right.
Clients with anything from perioral dermatitis to seborrheic dermatitis.
Oh, that's good to know. We have a lot of people who write into us with perioral dermatitis.
It's been known to help very much as a sort of 3-time-a-week treatment. Not that you use, when somebody has, also for somebody with rosacea, very effective. But you just omit the granule action and use
use it as a mask and
Exactly.
get the enzyme effect.
Exactly.
Right.
And then it's an anti-inflammatory compress.
Gotcha.
Neem, stevia sage, gotu-kola green tea. The herbal anti-inflammatories are infused into every ounce of the honey. It's really powerful. So that is a bit about why it's so effective. And, it's one of those products that I personally can't live without.
Yeah.
And it's so helpful for so many different types of skins.
Well, I want to hear how you use it. The way that I like to use it is I like to put it on my clean skin when I go into the shower. And I like to leave it on while I'm showering so that I can get the enzymatic effect. And then at the end of my shower, then I'll add a little water and then do the manual exfoliation and then rinse. So that's how I do it in the morning. And I love the smell of this product. It's kind of got a little bit of a medicinal smell, and that is the smell that I love. I really feel like my nose and my body kind of identifies with the benefits of the product. I don't like things that are too perfumed, but I like them to smell good and clean. But it's definitely very unique.
Yeah, it has an herbaceous scent, but like you're saying, I really think it's important to get into the product. The olfactory sense when you take in the real smell of the plants. It's very important. I don't think it's good to cover it up entirely.
Right.
It's about how the product works in synergy and all of those plants and what they create as a total product and how they benefit. And it's really, I love the fact that you get into the natural aroma of it.
Yeah.
So.
How do you use it? How often do you use it?
I use it 3 times a week.
Okay. Can you over exfoliate?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And you should be in tune enough with your own skin to know how often to exfoliate and when you are exfoliated effectively and when not to exfoliate.
So for some people, 2 times a week might be good. For some, maybe 4.
For most
I've
people,
kind of got thicker skin, more oily skin, so I can handle a little bit more.
It also depends on what you're doing in the exfoliation process. Are you doing manual exfoliation and doing a manual application and rinsing it off after 10 minutes? Or are you doing a full application where you really take the time to go over every single area of your face, leave it on as a mask for 45 minutes because the enzymes need time to really get in there and break up the bonds?
Gotcha.
And then, or are you, some people just jump in the shower and scrub and rinse it off. I think it's really important to do 3 full exfoliations a week but it takes more time. I think you have to plan ahead. You have to go and think about, am I going to start dinner, put it on, take a shower. I like to rinse it off in the shower, but I also don't think you shouldn't be splashing water off your face when you're rinsing in the shower. That disrupts the acid mantle and strips your skin down. Your skin does repair itself for that, but why make your skin do that work? So when I'm in the shower and I'm rinsing it, I will wet my hand and rinse my hand and wet my hand and rinse it. And that's a gentler way to preserve the integrity of your oil balance.
Yeah.
So people who are under 33, I say maybe once a week, over 33, twice a week, over 40, 3 times a week. But get to know your own skin. Everybody's skin is so different. There's no general rule for how many times it should be used. So how else do I use it? I mean, I use it.
You'll leave it on for 45 minutes as a mask?
Yeah, you can't leave it on too long.
Okay.
And really giving it that time also causes the natural acids that are in it to slough, and then it causes the herbs to really move beyond the surface layer of the skin, because one of the misunderstandings about the skin is that, you know, everything you put on it's going in. It's not actually. The skin is a barrier designed to keep everything out. So part of the delivery system is you miss the hydrating accelerator first, which helps loosen the surface tension of the skin and move between the lipid protein layer and get into the skin. And then what you apply on after has a sort of a vehicle deeper into the skin. It's really about effective delivery system and how we get these constituents into the skin to really make a difference on a cellular level. So I think it's really important to exfoliate regularly, and then honestly, just take the time. Take the time.
Yeah,
you know,
you'll see a difference in your skin. You'll see a difference in your skin. I think this is the best name for a product ever, the Hydrating Accelerator, because it really that really describes what the product does, and you missed it on this. Basically, this goes in every step of your skincare routine. This basically goes in between, before, after, and in between.
It's a foundational product. Absolutely. Thank you. I'm glad you like the name. I don't think, obviously, names of products are an art, and coming up with it, really trying to describe what the product is in, a short title is challenging at times, but I don't think this ever didn't have that name. This, all of a sudden, I knew it was it's the Hydrating Accelerator.
And if you've ever tried it, you know that's exactly what it does.
Thank you. And it does, it works.
You need to sell it by the gallon.
I know, we're working on trying to get larger containers for it. I mean, it feels like people drink it because this is something you should have in every, at the office. You can actually use it on your hair. I've used Hydrating Accelerator in my hair. It's amazing on your hair. I have it in my hair right today, because it obviously hydrates the hair, but then the formulation, which I'll get into, is really important, because the reason why people love it and it's so effective is because it works. And like you were saying, before every product and after every product, it's a foundational product. It's the delivery system. And the way the Hydrating Accelerator is formulated is to move past the stratum corneum, is to penetrate into the skin. Like water is a solvent. It will move into your skin, but not in an effective way like a formulation where there's certain kinds of lipids used in order to move past along with water. It's tricky because water is what hydrates the skin, but oil will penetrate better. And so how do you get a water-based product into the skin and still have oil in it? It's formulation, and that's an effective delivery system, because it really is the challenge, is to get these constituents into the skin to do what they need to do. But this is obviously structured vitamin-infused aloe water that is the herbs that are infused into it, and the aloe effectively penetrates the skin, and then when you put the active enzyme exfoliator on after it, then it's able to go deeper into the deeper layers of the skin.
We've kind of gone away from this this hydration, this focus on hydration, and went, we got really oil and balm focus, which is important, and it's a part, but you can't miss that step, the hydration step.
Right, because oil is moisturizing. Yeah. Oil is not hydrating unless, for example, part of the treatment is a hydration and moisturizing treatment, like the advanced hydration mask, for example. The way to treat your face with that mask is you miss the hydrating accelerator first, then you immediately apply the mask on. So it's a hydrating and moisturizing mask, so it increases skin hydration. Right. But typically, any mask that's oil-based, hard oil, any type of oil is going to be a moisturizing product. And creams tend to be moisturizing products and not hydrating, even though they're made with water. They work more like moisturizers, unless they are a very high water activity cream that penetrate very quickly and don't have very much oil. So it does depend on the formulation, on how something's going to perform. That's why it's really hard to just generalize.
If you don't have it already, definitely a hero, like if ever there were a hero product in the world,
in the world
that could be used on anybody at, almost anybody, and any skin, unless you have an allergy of some sort. So you use this right on top, and then you can follow with.
Exactly. So you'd miss the hydrating accelerator. You would then apply a drop or two of the hydration boost concentrate. Then you would apply your facial oil for oil balance and nutrient density. Then you could seal that in with like a thicker balm or cream on top.
Yes.
So yeah, oil would go on top of these.
And just a couple drops, 1 drop, 2 drops.
Really 1 or 2 drops max is all you need.
It's kind of thick. It's, it's got like it's got some substance to it.
Yeah, it's gel serum-like, and it's a true hydration serum, and you feel the instant surge in hydration. And as you feel that and you experience how it's restored, then you immediately apply your moisturizer on top to lock it in. It's not a finishing product.
And the skin just sucks it right up.
Soaks it right up, and then you feel the boost, and then you immediately put on your moisturizer. But if you didn't put on your moisturizer, it would act like a very light moisturizer, not enough for me or not enough for a daily moisturizing, because it's not. It's hydrating, and you have to get that hydration in with just the right amount of lipids to, penetrate and lock it in.
So what about like just a drop around the eyes too?
Absolutely.
That's good. Like you can just really kind of press it in if you've got dry skin around the eyes or anywhere that you're having some dry patches. Maybe tap a little and drop in. There
is a high amount of hyaluronic acid in this, and it's all in-house made, like all of our extracts, all made in-house fresh. Every batch is made for the order that we're working on, and the Indian senna seed extract in this, the polysaccharides that are mimicking and acting like hyaluronic acid, they're powerful and they work, and it's something that is just so skin supporting and necessary if you are really looking to take care of your skin. So and it's also it's unscented. There's no essential oils. So no oils, no essential oils. So it's really filling that spot for people who really are looking to restore your hydration and not needing any facial oils, and really boosting with antioxidants, because the other thing is it's a concentrate not only of hyaluronic acid, but of clinically proven antioxidants that regenerate and support skin health. Green tea, chamomile, cacao extract. It's filled with skin loving, supporting ingredients. So you're also getting a huge dose of proven effective antioxidants into your skin.
And a little bit goes a long way. So this little bottle will last how long?
It gets addicting. So, using
maybe a month?
Oh, I think more than that.
More than a month?
More than that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think about, maybe over a month.
Yeah, 5 to 6 weeks, maybe.
Depending on how much you use. There's sometimes when I'll do 1 drop and it's perfect and covers my whole face. There's other times I do 2 or 3 drops and I want it all over my neck and everywhere. So.
Yeah. Well, I am so excited to hear how people enjoy discovering this product, and thank you so much for launching it at Beauty Heroes and sharing it with our community. You were so generous in that way that we've had the opportunity to launch a few new products through Beauty Heroes, and last year with Ethereal, which was so special. And so thank you very much for sharing it with us. You and I have been talking, I've been talking to you a bit. We did masterclass and we saw each other before that. And I feel like in the last year I've been talking to you and you've been really excited about some of the new products you have in the pipeline. And I can feel it from you when I talk. Obviously I talk to a lot of brand founders about product. And with you over the last year, maybe a little bit longer, I've just been feeling like you've been really inspired from a product place and very authentically, like the products are just kind of coming out of you. And I think one of the things, the reason that I started Beauty Heroes was that I would meet brand founders who would make something, and it wasn't just a product to sell. It was a manifestation of something else from them. And so when I talk to you like about a new product and we're talking about a couple of other things that you're coming out with, I can feel that it's just like you can't help it. Like the product just sort of jumps out of you. Yeah. You don't like think about, okay, what void do I want to fill in my line or in, what product is missing? Because nothing, as you and I have talked about before, there's nothing missing. There's lots of products. There's hundreds of thousands of beauty products.
Brands, yeah.
We don't need something. It's really coming from a different place. It's coming from what's inside of you, and it's coming out. And I feel like right over the last year, like you're a prolific formulator, in that things are just keep coming out of you in this way. So.
Well, it's interesting because I've been doing this for a while now, and I absolutely cannot create a product if I'm not inspired. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, I feel like that product ideas and directions and ingredients and formulas and how they perform and everything, I feel like it's kind of given to you, depending on how sensitive you are. And I'm a very creative person, but I'm also not in need of creating a product. Like I don't need to create. Yeah. The only thing I need to do is I need to be expressing myself and I need to be connecting with people. I think that's most important for me. Mm-hmm. But, I almost realized that a product is coming after it's already there. And I was like, oh, I was just messing around. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't even taking this seriously. This was for me. I was trying to see what it would be like. The best ideas come from when you're tinkering. Yeah. And when you have, like for me, when I have my oils and herbs and, all of the different raw plant materials that I play around with, because I want to know what happens if I use a little bit more of this, or what happens if you do this. And many times it just comes out terrible and it's just a mess you have to clean up. But it always is more information and I always learn something from it. And then all of a sudden something will happen and I'm like, wow, this is incredible. And I'm not even thinking anything of it, but I also will just give it to a couple close friends, and their feedback is incredible. And they're saying, for instance, yes, very prolific lately, lots of ingredients and ideas are coming through me, and I don't feel an obligation to actually bring them to market until I just start feeling like people really need this. This is special, and I know I can do it right. And it's the level of just knowing that there's nothing like it that inspires me to share it.
Yeah. And you won't release it until it's totally right. So however long it takes, that's how long it takes.
Yeah, and I'm working on 10 formulas right now. Mm-hmm. And I work with 3 different chemists, hands-on, and an herbalist as well. And some things come together really quickly and some things just don't. And that's sort of the process. And then sometimes you think something's not coming together, and then all of a sudden one more iteration and it's like, wow, this is it. And that's passion, because it's not straightforward, and it's about small little tweaks in the formula that can make a huge difference. And that's also where I get the most interested in it, because that's where I'm always taking away new information about what I can do and about what my team can do. And you know, it's really fun. I'm working on calling it right now, the working title is Matcha Q10 Longevity Balm. And it's a treatment, medicinal, incredible balm. I did post about it on Instagram, and at that time it was really a product that I actually just...
I love that you do that. You share your process with us, with all of us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it helps me. When I posted about it on Instagram, I was not thinking about bringing it to market at all. I was like, nope. Though my line does not have a traditional balm like this, it wasn't even a thought. I made the product for my mom. The story behind it's interesting, because she needs sort of kidney support internally. And so the herbs that I was using were medicinal for her to rub on her kidneys to help support the health of them. And so I made it for her, and then I was like, gosh, this stuff's amazing, and didn't think anything of it, and shared it on Instagram, and the response was more than I had anticipated at all. I knew everybody would be like, oh, wow, that's great, but it was through the roof, excitement and a desire for it, that I was like, well, why would I not give people what they want? If they want this, why don't I make it available?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at with it, and the community elicited it from me, and it came forth because they wanted it. So that's sort of, and then other times, like I'm also working on, it's a polyphenol rich mask that is just an incredible...
I'm hearing about this for the first time too. I know
haven't
about a
told you
couple
about
of the
this?
things. No, I know about the new shampoo that's coming out that I'm really excited about.
Okay, I'll tell you about that. But the polyphenol rich mask that I'm working on, really, I had an idea for it about 1.5 years ago. And I sort of formulated this whole idea, and then I basically just judged it and thought it was stupid and I couldn't do it. And I was like, no, I'll figure out something else. And then I kept thinking about it again. And then when it comes back into your mind, you know it's coming back for a reason. So it's just like, okay, well, why don't I think about how else this could be a mask for people, and how else can I make it? Really, it's like, how is it effective? And I have nothing to do with the product if it doesn't work. There are so many clinical studies behind how plant polyphenols are effective and how they work in the skin. It's phenomenal, and the studies are mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting. So then I was tinkering again just for myself, because I was seeing how these ingredients, a lot of times when I want to just see how one raw material works, I'll make a very simple mask at home. And it's never really that great, but it gives me information about how that product works and how it might work in a product.
Yeah, we don't test on animals, we just test on ourselves.
Yeah, I put this through the ringer. And yeah, and I know my skin so well when it comes to how it's reacting and how to adjust something to see if it's actually therapeutic, if I'm just using way too high of concentration or whatever.
Right.
So I created like a mini version of something, and I was like, the results were incredible. And I was like, no, I was onto something with this, and this is coming through. So I need to honor that, and I need to honor the original vision that I had, and not think that it was stupid or that people wouldn't like it. You know, this is what we do with our art.
Right.
Like, we judge it and throw it to the side when really it could be a masterpiece. So with that, that's just, and so I've been working really hard on this, and it's coming together very quickly, because I obviously had been working on it for a while.
Can't wait to see it. I wanted to maybe switch gears to a couple of books that you and I have read, and there's a quote in one of them that sort of speaks to that, you know, Josh and I have been reading this book by Yvon Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia. I found it. I knew Josh would love it right away, and I sent it to him. And it's The Education of a Reluctant Businessman. And it's called Let My People Go Surfing. And there's a quote actually about him in the beginning. that I actually think reminded me of you. It says, the point is how powerful an organizing force authenticity can be. And they're writing about Yvonne in this, but I feel like that is true of you. Like I watch you and the way that you are. Not only, it's funny, like probably a lot of people have communicated with you on Instagram, and I know you and I have talked about this. You handle all your own Instagram. You don't ever have anybody else work on it for you. It's just all you. But I've seen you talk to people just, in a public setting where you're talking about your product, and I think what people feel so much is that sense of authenticity, where it's like a direct channel to, common experience that we all have. I mean, that's what I think a lot of us really resonated with in your masterclass, where you were talking about kind of the way that you grew up and how you started even using skincare. If you haven't signed up for the masterclass to get Josh's class, it's really beautiful story about and things. I learned a lot of things about you that I didn't know from that class. Saved by the clarinet, I'll never forget about that. And I think we can all relate to a lot of the stories. I think we all have a lot of those. I think a lot of us felt like misfits growing up. I certainly did. I think a lot of people think that I, maybe was the popular person, and I wasn't at all. Right. I was total misfit, and it's now something that I really love about myself, but I'm 44 years old, so now I can, you learn loving that, but when you're growing up, it's not always the best quality that you adore about yourself. But I think when people talk to you, I think that's an interesting thing about your brand is that, one thing I really love about it is that it works for all ages, and I say this all the time, I can use Josh Rosebrook on my kid, I can use it on my dad, I can use it on I can give it to my aunt, and I can use it on myself, and I feel like it fits for everybody. But I also think that the way that you connect with people through the brand is really unique.
Thank you.
It's true.
It's an honor to hear that, seriously.
It's so true.
I don't know any other way. Mm-hmm. That's how, and I think it's a reflex just as much as it's the hair color that you were born with, because I think it's just such an ingrained part of who you are that socially, it's a social skill, but it's like, for instance, like people who might be on Instagram that I might take time to talk to. I don't really care who they are. I don't care. It's a value and a respect for another being. Mm-hmm. I think that's what the difference is. It's like, I think that's where people get lost, is that they measure people up against whether or not it's worth it, or do they deserve my time, or is it worth it for me? But it's like anybody who is nice, or anybody that has a question
that's open, it's like interested.
It doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter who's watching. It's kind of like if you do a really good deed and you go and tell everybody you did it.
Sure.
It's like you didn't do that to do it. You didn't do it to push and serve.
Yeah.
You did it for the recognition and the validation of doing something good. And I think that that's where none of us are a big deal at all.
Totally.
And we don't really matter, but the way we do matter is by honoring and respecting and valuing just people, just simply.
Yeah, well, you just segued. I had another quote in this book, but there was a quote in this book that I pulled that is so funny that you just said that, because this is another book. So Josh and I have also read this book that was, it was a pretty life-changing book. It's called A Mind at Home with Itself by Byron Katie. And either you're into this or you're not, but you know, we both really happened to resonate.
Yeah, and if
with
you're
it.
not into it, question why.
Why wouldn't you be
Question
into
why.
it?
And yeah.
So I found the quote, and this is it. It says, "If we're even one breath more or one breath less than anyone else, we're not at home." And I love that quote. I mean, Byron Katie says that in here, but I really believe that.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, no one's a big deal. You know, I think this is a really good quote for our times.
Yeah.
But I think that people feel that when you talk to them. I think one of the things that I'm really good about is observing people, and I've observed you kind of in your element a few times. And I think when you're talking to somebody, people really feel that. You don't ever make them feel like they're one breath more or one breath less,
Right.
or you are, and that's, I think, the definition of authenticity.
Yeah,
you know?
that's a cool definition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I honestly feel like, well, you know, gosh, I don't know. How can you not fully give someone your attention, you know?
Yeah, it's a practice of moment to moment mindfulness.
Yeah.
Of just being a human in the world.
Yeah, I think that the part of us that sort of doesn't understand that or practice that it's just a part of us that hasn't developed, where we haven't really dropped into ourselves and we haven't connected to ourselves, or we haven't, you know, when we're speaking to somebody and they are, you know, saying something to you, regardless, whatever it has to do with, not necessarily business, but it's a reflection of you, how you allow yourself to hear them. People just want to be heard and acknowledged. And, you know, it just goes down to the whole thing, like, you know, someone can smile at you and it can change your day because it's the right person smiling at you at the right time when you were thinking something maybe that, you know, it becomes a sign and a trigger. You know, it's just like, so we underestimate how much of service we can be just by giving somebody an acknowledgement, a smile, just acknowledging somebody. You know, you come into yoga class and you sit down, and we live in urban cities, and, you know, nobody talks to anybody. And just to say hi to the person that's next to you, just to acknowledge them. You don't need to have a conversation, you just acknowledge.
Sure.
So
this was a deep book for us. I remember when we were reading it, we kept texting.
It's mind-blowing.
And going, you know, it's sort of a life-changing book. It kind of puts, you know, sort of our existence in perspective. So I think, you know, it might not be for everybody, but it was for us. And there was another, I think this is one of the key takeaways that, like, if I can get to this, what I aspire to get to, and what this book really brought into focus. So Byron says, or they call her Katie. I guess people refer to her more as Katie, even though I think the name Byron is such a cool
Isn't that
name
cool?
for a
Yeah.
woman. Yeah. Eventually, through practice, you no longer impose your thinking onto reality, and you can experience everything as it really is, as pure grace.
It's true.
And my life experience is not like that right yet, but I can
But you have moments
eventually,
of it.
yes, certainly I do have moments of that, and eventually through practice, knowing that it's available through practice is kind of encouraging.
Yeah, that should be inspiring, because that's the realignment into it that she's talking about.
Yeah.
As soon as we hear it again, we're like, oh yeah, it's a being swept back up into the bigger picture that makes sense and is all empowered. It's brilliant. You know, and we need books like this, you're never done. We need them as reminders.
Yeah.
You know, I can read one page of it and it's enough for me to set the tone for my whole day, to be aware. You know, it's powerful. I think that's where that's where the world really changes. It's what we can do.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that only inspires you to, because I think the more you become in alignment with yourself, you're being of service just energetically, because you draw that out energetically, everybody that surrounds you. So when you're in alignment and you're kind and conscious and respectful and holding doors and acknowledging people and those mindful living, like that spreads to the person you held the door for. Because if you wouldn't have held the door for them, that could have just been the last thing that made them feel like everything just sucks. You don't know. So it spreads, and that's what we can do. And I think, you know, I know we were going to sort of talk about this, but it's about how we, you know, how do we become more and more of service by what we're doing? Like, you know, that's all that I'm inspired to do. Not only am I fascinated by product development and creativity and plants and how they work, and we are changing the world with what we're offering, but how do I take it to the next level in service to make a difference, you know, in a small way or hopefully a bigger way?
Yeah, and that's what I always felt like I had in common with you, and why I really wanted to do this interview was because, you know, I wanted to talk to you and you know, wanted to kind of go in a bit deeper, because I feel like that's what you and I have really in common, is that we sort of really love what we do, and we love skincare and beauty. It's so rich, but it's so not just about, you know, how you look. It's really about, you know, how we're shifting conversation. Yes. And that's what I'm really interested in. And, you know, you're a partner that I can have a deeper conversation with around through skincare and beauty, and and how we like to take care of ourselves and how we want to take care of the planet. And I think what I think is really interesting, and one thing that I'm learning, is that brands are an evolution, right? You start in one place. We started at one place with Beauty Heroes, and we are kind of going to a new place. And that's what this book is so great about, is kind of talks about how, you know, 20 years of business of Patagonia, where they started one place, and it shows like all the stumblings and all the imperfections and all the trial and all the error and all the mistakes and all the victories in becoming what the company is today. And I feel like you and I get to have a lot of these conversations, and I think it's really, I think it's interesting, you know, to, you know, in an industry where I don't know if people, I think the green beauty, the healthy beauty community really wants to shift conversation around beauty, and I think they are, and now I think people are catching on, right? And there's, you know, consciousness is rising, and it's really a lot because of some of the leaders who started in this industry and are pushing it forward, like you.
Thank you. No, and you as well. It's, you know, it takes a village, and we're doing it. And I think that it needs to be kept in check, because it's, you know, it's really about, you know, elevating the conversation around beauty and talking about it, and not just falling into the easy sort of laid out sort of versions of conventional beauty has already done, that isn't really serving us. You know, it's starting a small business and developing it over years is what it's about. And I think that's why the people who've been doing it for a long time and have grown from, you know, zero into where they are today, it's because you become who you are. Your brand becomes who it is. You develop who you are. What I knew about plants in 2005 was nothing compared to what I know now. You figure out your voice, you figure out your approach, you learn your place, and it becomes. And then it's only more exciting because this is who you are
Yeah.
and you've built it. I think what I'm trying to say is that I think people who, just in terms of being an entrepreneur, honoring every single phase that's small and all of the mistakes and not being big is a wonderful place to be. And being big is overrated. And it's all work. And the only thing that you can really extract the real good, fulfilling peace, truth, happiness from is your fulfillment in it. Your fulfillment is when you're helping people in some way, because the size of your company, and if you're in 4 more retailers and you're making X amount more dollars, that stuff is fun because achieving is fun, but none of that will sustain you if you're not making a difference in some way.
Well, I'm excited to see companies that, beyond beauty companies, like companies in the world who really are, big and making a positive impact on the planet. And I think we're going to see more of that. I think there's, I think you're going to have to, that's my opinion. I'm a bit of an idealist though. I think that if you're not working to make a better world with your company, you're not going to survive in the long run. I'd like to believe that to be true. And so I think, you can be big if that's what's meant to be. But I think with natural beauty and, you can only scale as much as nature will allow.
Yeah.
And I think people don't really understand that about our industries, that you can grow, but you have to grow sustainably, and you have to grow in this way, where, in support of nature and making sure that you're not taking more than what we can support. Exactly. And that's, I think, a blessing, but also something to, that conventional beauty doesn't have to take into consideration.
Totally. And and as we remain thoughtful about our formulations and what is sustainable, as the natural beauty industry grows more and more every year, and more people want what's natural which is incredible, but that also, where do we sort of look at what might be more sustainable options, even if that might be a safe synthetic? I think it's really about what I found more than anything is that it can kind of be one side or the other. And I think it's really important that the world does so much better when it's unified and we come together, respecting all types of beauty, all formulations. There's some incredible clinical science behind amazing actives that work for the skin, and they are, biomimetic, or they are safe synthetics, and they're wonderful, and they're very sustainable.
Yes, we're working with some great companies who are leading the way there.
And I don't think it's not about just sweeping generalizations about if something that is synthetic and sort of invented for us it's advancement, it's science, it's science and technology, green technology, per se. And I think it's really important to honor that, and stay open to it, and not be closed off to anything, and looking at the deeper parts of it. Is like, is it safe? Is it sustainable? And if something is safe and sustainable, and it's an ingredient that inspires you, and it's easier to get now than this one ingredient that is hard to come by because it's being overpurchased because of beauty industry in general, well then that's thoughtful. That's conscious beauty.
Yeah.
So
I love that you're open to exploring that.
Thank you. I like products. I love the plant and herb synergy of pure organic products. I don't like conventional plant ingredients, but I also really am interested in everything that works, that's clean, because I love products, and I love products that work. And I think it's important to honor all aspects of products that have place.
Right.
That have a place and that are worthy and of value. And I want to hear the stories and why, and I want to hear why it's interesting, and I want to be inspired by it as well. Like, you know, we're all in this together. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I love products too. I think it's, you know, it's like I really, you know, it's one of the things that I talk about a lot is that I want people to use less and love more, but I don't want anybody to stop using products. I never want to give up my beauty products, but I really want to, you know, be thoughtful about what I do use and use it from brands that are really, you know, creating something, you know, that works, that is sustainable, and that's what Beauty Heroes is all about. And I think as far as being in the industry, you know, I really feel like it is such an honor for me to be able to share your story. That's what my my goal is, and I think, you know, it is kind of cool for Beauty Heroes to have, you know, for me to be able to come out and talk about my perspective on product and consumption and kind of balance, but it really is in light of giving voice to the brands that are creating these products of value that you were talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you know, I can't do what I do without the support and knowledge and, you know, what you're doing for us and brands in the industry. It's we're all one and the same, you know.
Yeah.
It's just different parts of the same, you know, different spokes of the same wheel. You know, I do think that as we move forward and you grow and we develop, we are able to make more choices because we're learning and we're developing and becoming. And, you know, at this point in the industry where I'm at, for instance, it's like really exciting to be able to take control of the product to at the next level and the next level where, for instance, we're growing the herbs for the new Hydration Boost concentrate in California. All of those herbs are grown, or 90% of the herbs are grown in California, and how we can really choose to make these products to control what we have and to make it more sustainable and support local communities and all of these things. It's just always taking it to the next level, and that's part of like why it's so exciting to be able to have a company that is appreciated and shared.
As you grow, you get to make those deeper decisions that will help push the sustainability of your company. I know one of the things that I'm really excited about is to see your packaging initiatives, because I know you're doing some really great things there. So
very
that's something we'll have to look forward to.
January.
Yes. Great. Well, I just wanted to close, you know, one of the things in this book, it's a really cool book that's got some great pictures, but one of the things Yvonne talks about, all these different aspects of business and production philosophy, and one of them that you and I were talking about today was about developing long-term relationships with your partners, so that there's sort of this interdependence of each other, where and you and I were talking a bit today about going narrow and going deep.
Right.
And that's one of the things I really believe in, is that I'd rather go narrow and deep with people in life, and also with my partners. You know, it's like I really want to, you know, have a deeper relationship with our brands. And I would say, you know, this is our fourth collaboration, and who knows what we're going to work on next, but it's really just such an honor to be one of the people that you've chosen to, because I know you're very selective about who you work with and how your product is put out into the world.
Yeah, it's an honor to work with you. I think you're a dream person, friend, and retailer partnership. I mean, I honestly can't imagine doing this and not knowing you or being a part. I feel like for most brands, for most indie brands, at least maybe this is just my case, but once you get, you have to get to a certain place where you really understand narrow and deep, because I think for a lot of people, they just have this, I need to make it, I've got to survive.
That's normal, I think.
Right,
yeah.
And that's a normal phase. But then when you really understand the power that your education and your product and the commitment that so many people have to your product and your retailers and our relationship, that you can grow you can grow bigger with smaller amount of people. The main reason is that for me, it's about only working with people who respect the brand and the voice and understand the story and want to help me market it and share it with people. Other than that, it's, what are we really doing? Why are we doing it? Because that's where all of the good stuff is. That's where it's really juicy and real, and it can be something so much greater.
Right.
And so we've made the decision, to really reduce the amount of retailers that we have, and then we can invest in those ones more, in the way that it really serves our brand's message and how we want to get it out there, because then it actually gets out there, versus it being diminished because, the retailer, for instance, might not totally appreciate your story or your brand in a way, and it can get lost in how is the consumer, how is that reaching the person? Yeah. So it's really about just being able to carry the message and share it with people in an effective way that works. And I think ultimately it's really not about just growth at all costs. It's really, it has to be more thoughtful and about the partnership.
Well, you've been doing such a great job, and I think, you can't, if you don't follow Josh on Instagram, you should, because he does share a lot of his own personal, stories and day-to-day sort of trials and your own rituals and great skincare tips. He's got such great skincare tips on your Instagram. It's really been a great, and you are, connecting. I mean, it's amazing. Every time we talk about Josh Rosebrook, or somebody else talks about Josh Rosebrook at Beauty Heroes, you're always there. It's amazing. I know you call it your Instagram homework.
Yeah, it's a lot to keep up with, and I don't get to everything nowadays. But I feel like I've come up with this. We can give Instagram social media users a choice. Do you want me to, I love creating content. I love talking about what I'm working on and what inspires me. I don't really post anything unless I'm inspired. And so I'm offering this, which I hope is of worth to people. But if it wasn't, and I may not get to all of the messages and all of the comments, even though I do on my page, I comment everything. Everyone who comments on my page, I will comment. But I may not get to all of the tagged pictures of the product. But I try to get also all the questions. But the alternative to it is I might not be as present on there, but when I am there, I'm fully there. Yeah. Other than that, it would be a social media manager handling it, and it wouldn't be the truth and the soul and the authenticity and all of what I bring to the table. So.
Yes, it's quality over quantity.
Yes.
Yeah, quality over quantity. We love that at Beauty Heroes, and we appreciate that. And I think everybody else appreciates that too.
Good.
So,
I'm glad.
Yeah. Thank you for being present with us today.
Thank you for having
me. We got to share all this good stuff, and I hope everybody. I know everybody will really. That's stayed tuned to this will have gotten a lot from hearing from you.